Lil Baby is cooked. It's over, bruh. When I first seen the initial reports today, I made my calls. And what I was told was, expect for Lil Baby to be indicted on a RICO within 90 days. You're probably asking yourself, what exactly is Lil Baby out here doing that's going to get him indicted on a RICO charge within 90 days? Well, let's break down exactly what's going on. These are Lil Baby ops, arch nemesis of 4PF, the Goodfellas, and they are currently going through the process.
This is the moment the entire world of hip-hop has been holding its breath for. A seismic shock just erupted through the industry, and its epicenter? None other than the chart-topping, culture-defining, era-shaping artist we all know as Lil Baby. The man who once ruled the airwaves, influenced a generation, and stood as an icon for a new breed of artists, has now met a fate no one expected so soon. Lil Baby has been sentenced, and the echoes of that gavel's thud will be felt far beyond the courtroom. Walls goodbye forever? It just might be. Let us now dive deep into this stunning turn of events, uncover the journey that led us here, and reflect on the legacy that might have just closed its final chapter. Lil Baby, born Dominique Jones, was known as much for his raw storytelling as he was for his street-rooted authenticity. From the moment he stepped into the limelight, his rise was meteoric. With albums like My Turn and the hit single Drip Too Hard alongside Gunna, he wasn't just rapping. He was narrating the hopes, dreams, and survival of a generation that looked up to him. He was real, he was relatable, and for many, he was untouchable. But what happens when the streets you came from refuse to let you go? What happens when fame and past affiliations collide? It all began with whispers. Allegations surfaced that Lil Baby's 4PF collective had been tied to a wave of retaliatory violence that shocked even the most hardened prosecutors.
Of being officially indicted for a RICO. The catalyst for the criminal complaint to get them off the streets, bring them in, and officially work on a RICO was the deaths of these two young men, Jack Bodie Davis and Lamont Freeman, two 13-year-olds that was tragically killed when Goodfellas attempted to spin the block on 4PF, Lil Baby's group. A lot of this you already heard before, but we're just recapping so we can get to the bombshell that dropped today. Trust me, it's bombshells that dropped today. So Atlanta PD blamed Lil Baby for this. It said,
for months, investigators gathered evidence, tracked movements, combed through encrypted messages, and pieced together a complex network they alleged pointed back to the rapper. When the news broke that the Georgia Public Defender's Office was preparing a RICO indictment naming Lil Baby and others, fans were skeptical. This couldn't be true. Not Lil Baby. He was too focused, too smart, too evolved. But then came the wiretaps, the photos, the video shoot that took place in rival gang territory, the tragic deaths of two innocent teens. Suddenly, it wasn't just speculation. It was real. The case grew more damning by the day. In court, prosecutors painted a chilling picture of a world where celebrity and criminality coexisted. Wiretap audio surfaced, allegedly revealing plans for retaliatory violence. Investigators claimed they found links between social media messages and real-world shootings. Names were dropped, evidence mounted, and although Lil Baby consistently denied the charges, calling them fake news and claiming he was more than good, the courtroom told another story. During the trial, courtroom tension was palpable. Witness after witness took the stand. Some cried, some whispered, some refused to look the defense in the eye. To the name Dominique Jones echoed through the chambers like a chant, growing heavier with each mention. Then came the most haunting moment, the playing of wiretapped calls.
Is Lil Baby cowardless actions that led to these two 13-year-old kids losing their lives.
Lamont Freeman was allowed to be a 13-year-old for 27 minutes before gang violence ultimately took his life. Gang violence that was orchestrated by adults in our city, and cowardly acts.
Suggesting Lil Baby had tickets on rival gang members, street slang for putting a price on someone's head. The defense fought tooth and nail to downplay the recordings, claiming hearsay, misinterpretation, and bias. But the jury listened, and they took notes. Lil Baby himself remained mostly composed throughout the proceedings, but there were cracks. One day, he whispered to his legal team, "They're trying to erase everything I built." Another moment saw him locking eyes with his mother in the gallery, silently mouthing, "I'm sorry." These weren't just the actions of a celebrity in trouble. These were the moments of a man confronting the very real possibility of a life erased. From the outside world, as the trial came to a close, fans outside the courthouse held vigils. Posters bearing his lyrics waved in the air. Supporters shouted his name. "Free Lil Baby" echoed through the city, but the gavel silenced it all. Guilty. Courtroom. Judge, citing the gravity of the crimes and the influence Lil Baby held, sentenced him to a lengthy term behind bars. The courtroom fell silent, except for the quiet sobs of loved ones and the scratch of pens capturing every word. In a brief statement before being led away, Lil Baby said, "I never asked to be perfect. Just wanted to show them we could be more than what they told us we were. I'm sorry for the pain caused. I still got love for y'all." His words, delivered with the cadence of someone who spent years mastering rhythm and
Cowardly acts of an Atlanta-based rapper that decided to go over into a rival gang stronghold and shoot a music video in a place that he knew he should not have been. And in the subsequent days, we saw homicides and shootings, and ultimately the deaths of 2 children as a result of his cowardly actions. And you know who you are. And I tell you that this team will work relentlessly to hold you and the persons that you are affiliated with responsible for those actions.
The police is blaming Lil Baby for the death of the 2 13-year-olds because Lil Baby filmed a music video in the ops hood where he shouldn't have been. And because he filmed a music video in their hood, the music video got shot up, right? 2 people got hurt. And because of that, Lil Baby and 4PF, they spun a block. And
rhyme lingered. Outside, reactions were mixed. Some cried injustice, others nodded solemnly. Social media exploded. Hashtags like Free Lil Baby and Justice for Dominique trended worldwide. Celebrities voiced support, fans posted memories, critics analyzed every detail of the trial, and journalists scrambled to predict what this meant for hip-hop's future. Would Lil Baby's absence create a void? Would another artist rise to take his place? Or would his voice somehow continue to echo through the music he left behind? In the weeks that followed, more revelations emerged. Messages from inside hinted at Lil Baby still writing lyrics, still dreaming, still trying to turn his pain into poetry. "I got time now," he allegedly told a friend over a recorded call. "Time to think, time to write, time to find out who really there for me." Producers began to revisit unreleased tracks. Rumors swirled about a possible post-conviction album, one already being dubbed The Prison Tapes. If true, it would be a raw, stripped-down Lil Baby, telling his story not just as an artist, but as a man weathering the storm. One insider claimed, "These are some of his deepest bars ever. He's not just making music, he's bleeding onto every track." Yet beyond the headlines, beyond the speculation, lies a human story. A story of a young man from Atlanta who rose from the mud, who tasted global stardom.
They shot and killed an affiliate of Goodfellas called Trevante Turner. And after they shot and killed Trevante Turner, Goodfellas spun back on 4PF, and when they shot up the neighborhood, they shot and killed the 2 13-year-olds. So they're directly blaming Lil Baby for this.
Authorities say a high-ranking member of the Goodfellas gang who was incarcerated orchestrated the attack using a smuggled cell phone. Following those instructions, the suspects opened fire at an apartment complex where the 3 young teens were gathered to celebrate Freeman's birthday. Police say they weren't the targets.
Here's where things start getting interesting for Lil Baby. So Goodfellas got caught. They rounded up all the dusty ninjas who took the lives of these 2 precious little boys.
These kids were innocent victims. So when we talk about the gang involvement, these 2 13-year-olds and this 11-year-old, they didn't have a gang involvement.
Those arrested were identified as Keontae Sanders, Richard Hollis, Reginald,
Who carried the hopes of millions on his back, and who now must face the consequences of choices, both his own and those made in his name. Was he guilty of everything he was accused of? Perhaps, perhaps not. But what remains undeniable is the tragedy of lost potential, of lives shattered, of music silenced. As the weeks turned into months, Lil Baby's presence behind bars became its own saga. Reports from inside surfaced sporadically, each one fueling public fascination. An unnamed guard allegedly remarked, "He walks like he's still on stage," noting that even in confinement, Lil Baby carried himself with a confidence that refused to be shackled. One fellow inmate reportedly said, "When Baby speaks, everybody listens. He's still got that aura." The prison library became his refuge, not just a space to read but to reflect. Books on philosophy, biographies of civil rights leaders, and even spiritual texts began to fill his bunk. "I'm feeding my mind now," he reportedly told a visitor. Out there I was feeding the world. In here I'm rebuilding me. Building. Letters from fans poured in by the thousands. Some were from kids he had inspired. Some were from mothers who thanked him for giving their sons hope. Some were from inmates in other facilities, writing to say, "You gave us a voice. We're still listening." Meanwhile, in the world outside, artists he mentored spoke his name during.
Hence, if your ops get a RICO, you'll probably get an RICO. And in the case of Lil Baby, Goodfellas is going through the court process right now.
But day 3 of officially doing something, I think they're going to do something today, of the Goodfella gang, where they are trying to see if they're going to move forward for the indictment, move forward for it to go to the grand jury.
Now, listen, Lil Baby is beefing with Goodfella, but today in court, there was wiretaps being played, and on one of the wiretaps, somebody mentioned that Lil Baby had tickets, aka a bag, a bounty, on some people's heads. If they know what the ops did to you, they know what you did to the ops. That's the code of the streets, people. So don't ever celebrate your ops getting a RICO, bruh. That just means that you next. Now, if we look at the receipts for Trevante Turner, the police report when he passed away, if you look at the literal police report, they listed 4PF as a criminal street gang which laid claims to the Oakland City neighborhood of Atlanta. And they talked about the shooting death of Trevante Turner, etc., etc.
Concerts, tributes, and lyrics began to appear. Clothing brands released capsule collections inspired by his style. Graffiti murals with his face popped up in cities far beyond Atlanta, Paris, London, Johannesburg. But it wasn't all adoration. The music world had moved before, and it was moving again. New voices emerged, filling the sonic vacuum. Debates raged online. Was Lil Baby still the king, or had the throne been claimed? Industry. Insiders said, the minute he speaks, everything shifts again. And then came the leaks. Snippets of unreleased verses, raw voice notes allegedly recorded in his cell, began circulating. They were introspective, brutal, honest. "I'm not a villain. I'm a vision they fear," one line read. Another, "Prison bars don't mute the roar. I was made for more." Fans were ecstatic. The world hadn't heard the last of Lil Baby, not even close. As legal teams prepared appeals, as advocates questioned the strength of the RICO evidence, as journalists dug deeper into the timeline and social ties, a bigger story began to unfold. A story not just about a rapper sentenced, but about the American justice system, fame, loyalty, and survival. Lil Baby may be locked in, but through every beat, every verse, every memory, he remains locked into the culture, and perhaps that's the kind of freedom no sentence can ever cage.